Welcome to Amplify. I'm your host, Candice Dormon. On this show, we shine a light on people making moves, grinding, hustling, and being excellent because it's 2020 and there's still a lot of firsts making the news and there's still a lot of onlys across almost every industry. So let's dig in. Hi, how are you?
Hello.
Hey.
Joseph and Chris, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm so happy to have you on the show for our Father's Day series. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. No, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
So we have two guests tonight. Chris joins us from Massachusetts. He's a father of three girls, has been married for probably 7 or 8 years now.
Yeah, for 8.
8.
9.
9 years now.
9 years. 9 years. 9 years. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And did I say from Boston? He's from Boston and he has 3 girls and he's been married for 9 years. And we're so happy to have you on the show. And then Joseph, I'd be remiss to say that Chris is also the godfather of our younger son, Emery. So it's really good to have you on the show, especially for this episode. And then Joseph is calling in from California, from Southern California.
Yeah.
He is a new father of a baby girl, and he's also the godfather of our first son, Lincoln. So I'm super to have you guys on the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course.
No, thank you.
So let's just dig right in. So I was saying that this is our Father's Day episode, and I'm just wanting to get dads on camera, shine some light and give you guys some love all year long. Most things are about moms, and we know that you guys play a huge part in family and child rearing and all of the things. And so I just wanted to make sure that we're shining a light on you. But we also have to, we can't forget moms, right? So because they're what gets you into this position, right? So why don't we start by how you met your wife or partner? Chris, you want to start?
Sure. I met my wife actually through work when I was first starting to work as an admission counselor for Emerson College, which is the college that I work for now, and still for the past 13 years. And so I got into the position thinking about working with kids and especially with high school students. And she was a part of my first admission tour. And so as a part of the job, you will go to a variety of different schools and especially travel with other counselors and hit different high schools. And I was on the South Shore and South Shore, Massachusetts, and we were traveling to schools in Braintree and Stoughton, Milton, and she was a part of the first tour. And so got to know her. We were both in relationships at that particular time, but something about her stood out. And so years later, after we sort of met up and saw each other in different high schools and other college fairs, we met outside of work and met at a club in Cambridge. And so we were both a part of different parties, and we just bumped into each other a couple months after a couple months not seeing each other, and asked her out on a date, and the rest has been history. And so it was kismet, and it was the stars were aligned for us to meet in a variety of different occasions, and then continued to work in education for the both of us. And yes, it's just been awesome ever since. And so
I love it. I love it. I love it. So sometimes I think that things happen right away. You know, there's always that love at first sight story,
Right.
But,
Right.
you know, beautiful things come out of waiting your turn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, we both, I would say, especially for me, had to learn lessons along the learning lessons. And so
I love that. So you can come ready.
yeah, no, exactly. So yeah, I mean, sometimes you don't realize until you actually look back and realize the steps that you had to take. But yeah, it was it's always a fun story to tell. But yeah, it was a nice way introduction into the field that I'm in now. So yeah. So yeah.
I love that. I love that. What about you, Joseph?
I think we're the totally opposite. We met, I think, 2018. We started talking in 2018, November, December. I met her for the first time in January 2019. We're both, was coming off of relationships. There's no expectations. We went on a couple of dates in LA. And this was, mind you, this is all 2019. And by May, June of 2019, she was pregnant. So, and here I am.
I love it. I love it. So here's the opposite. Like you said, sometimes things are on a roll and you just got to roll with it.
Right. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So why don't we start with you, Joseph? What was it like when you found out that you were going to be a dad, and how did you go through those? It must be an emotional time for you. I know that it was for me as a parent. How did you go through those feelings, and what was it like?
Yeah, it was definitely very emotional. We found out, we actually went on a trip to in Vancouver. And that's why we're kind of like thinking maybe she could be pregnant, but we're not sure. In my head, I'm like, there's no way. So we came back. We set a doctor's appointment, and it was confirmed. So it was a lot of emotional, a lot of thoughts. I'm like, this is really happening. I thought I was going to be a bachelor for forever, so there was a lot of adjustments that had to be made just internally for myself. And even through the whole pregnancy, it was real. It was like going through it. When I first saw her, it didn't hit me as hard as it hit her. I guess moms had this special bond with their kid.
I mean, it's hormonal. Like, it's biology.
For us, we've been on the sideline for 9 months.
Yeah. 10 months. 10 months.
Right.
I am so serious about that 10th month. Okay. It is 10 months.
So it was not until like maybe she was 2 months old that I started to, develop this connection with her. So there was a lot of adjustments, but I'm happy that I'm here today. So
I love that. I really love that. I don't want to cut you off, but I really love that sort of like the honesty in that, because it's a thing, and moms also go through that. We are very expectant of moms to like have this moment, right? And you have your baby and you connect with them immediately. And there's some moms who don't feel that, and sometimes there are reason, like biological reasons for that, that sometimes have to do with C-sections, or like there's just some things that get in the way. And because we don't talk about the fact that there can be a lapse in when you have your child and when you really feel that bond, when that bond like really clicks, people who have that delayed reaction think that something's wrong with them. They
Right.
feel like they must be doing something wrong, or there's something wrong with them. And part of why I love having conversations like this and appreciate your honesty is that there's so many people out there going through that, and you are letting them know that they're not alone, right? Like, This is not an individual problem. And it's not a problem. It's not an individual experience. And I think that there's comfort in knowing that you're not alone. So thank you so much for sharing.
Right. And I thought to myself, maybe I'm not going to be a good dad because
I
don't feel anything,
Yeah.
But, it's very different now.
I love that. And of course, Joseph, we know you're going to be a good dad. You're already a great dad.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. So what about you, Chris? How was it when you found out? How did you know you were ready and wanting to have kids?
I don't know if I'm ready. I mean, it's one of those things. And, I think Joseph is, hit on it. And, I think it's really important to go through those moments where you're, kind of self-doubt. I mean, I think if you don't go through those moments of self-doubt, then you're not, I don't think you are ready. I mean, it's like they almost think that it's the opposite. When you think that you are ready, then you are ready. But I think it's when you have those moments when you think you're not ready, that you become ready. There's a moment of like self-analysis that you have to go through in order to better prepare yourself through all those emotions. And I don't discount those times of questioning and asking all the who, what, when, whys of everything, and then looking back at your own personal life and personal history and saying it's like there's a variety of times when none of this stuff is proper for what a father should be, and hey, and it's like, all right, well, we're going to go for it, and because of those reasons, I'm going to use that as a stepping stool and use that as in making sure that you bring your 100% of yourself, both your good, bad, and your uglies, to it, so that you can then instill the better into your kids, and you're humbled by that. And I think that's sort of the things that I'm still going through, even as a father now. And when we first found out, it's been sort of like a roller coaster ride. Because when my wife first got pregnant, then we actually lost that one to it, and so we that was an emotional roller coaster, and that sort of set us up in a different way when we finally got pregnant again with our first daughter. And it was all the medical appointments, and so it was more intense, and so I felt like we were almost walking on eggshells from week to week, and so it was this constant process of making sure that she was okay, and then it's like, okay, and making sure that whatever life that was building up in her was going to sustain. And so and finally, when she was born, it was sort of a sense of relief on one side, and then also another sense of like, oh my God, this is real. This is everything that we would want it to be, but at the same time, it was that questioning moments, and it's like, okay, what do we do now, and how do we take care of ourselves and this new person that has came into our life. And so I think it's been constant day-to-day learning process, and it's been great for us as parents, and we've been constantly asking questions. So I think that's the great part of it, is like, and realizing that you always don't have to have answers, but as long as you're humbling yourself, so that you are asking those questions of yourself and of the things that you do. And it's been a great great life experience for us overall. So yeah, it's been a roller coaster, and it's been a long time. So enjoy the ride, Joseph, is basically
yeah, definitely.
So yeah.
I appreciate that story. That's another thing, right? We don't often talk about miscarriages.
Yeah.
It's something that, and I know that's tough enough for moms, right? And if moms don't always have the space for that, then definitely dads don't always have the space to kind of process through a miscarriage. And again, to say out loud and speak like truth to power that it is a very emotional experience for both parents. And then also, I kind of get a sense that the early part, or the pregnancy for your first daughter, was a lot of tense fear, right? And worry, and making sure that everything was going to be okay. That it sounds like you almost weren't ready. Like you spent all that time being worried, right? That you weren't getting ready,
Right.
And
Exactly. And then, especially it's a combination of being, the genuine the kind of the stereotypical characteristics of a man of wanting to fix things, or and my personal, characteristics of like, I just want to fix it, and just anything I couldn't fix. It was just, it was really a watch and wait, and that taught me a lot. It was wasn't anything that I could do. It wasn't. It was. I had to take the back seat as it relates to the development, the natural development, and so that definitely taught me a lot. So
I get it. I get it. I get
yeah.
it. So let's switch gears a little bit, although it's obviously it's all related. Joseph, how would you describe yourself so far as a dad? What kinds of, adjectives, what words come to mind when you think about yourself as a dad?
Just tired. Tired. I've never been so tired in my life.
I love it.
All the 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, like last night, it happened. She was sleeping so well for the past 2 days before that. And last night she was waking up at 2, at 4. It's just unpredictable. You never know what's gonna happen, and it's so exhausting. And you're trying to keep her alive. And you're constantly thinking about if I'm doing the right thing, you're Googling, you're reading about things, trying different things. It's so mentally exhausting and physically. So I don't know if my life will ever be the same. I'm just trying to get used to it. But there's some days you're just like, you don't know if you're gonna make it through the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love this because it's like a total, you were in the thick of it, right?
Yeah, she's 4 months.
Yeah. You're in the thick of it. It's almost unfair to ask you these questions because it's so early on.
That's the only feeling that I have,
That's okay.
So
we will circle back next year and you'll be able to see this again next year and you'll be in a totally different place. So
right, I hope so.
Yeah. The nice thing is that you get to go through the developmental stages with them, right? Like you're learning just as they're learning.
Right.
So you get it in bite size, right? Like you don't go from not being a father in this situation, right? In this family setup, you don't go from not being a parent to like having teenage problems, right? Some people have to do that and you don't have the benefit of sort of like you would wish for those tired nights. So
yeah,
everybody is going through these stages like this. Those early stages are tough.
And I see you have 3 kids. I'm like, how are you doing this? I don't want to go through this ever again.
No, we've all been there, and as far as the whole tiredness aspect of the early stages of parenthood, and it's just one of those things that you just do, and I think one of the things that I realized is like from the beginning of time till now, people been doing it, and I'm like, let's just figure it out, and then you just do, and just realize is that yes, and much like Candice was saying, is that you're going through these processes, and one day my girls will be 16, and I'm going to have a whole new set of worries. Right? I'm going to enjoy the fact that 2 a.m. they're in my house.
Right.
That's real. That's real.
That's fine. Cool. It's like in the crib, and and I'm saying this now that my kids are 7, 5, and 3, and it's like, and they're girls and they're absolutely gorgeous and they're growing up to be beautiful young women, and I'm like 10 years they're going to be 17, 15, and 13 with a whole new set of rules. And so I'm like, all right, so I'm almost taking the brunt. But it's like, okay, like anytime that they needed to get up or I needed to get up to be able to take care of them, it's like, okay, I'm gonna do this now because here. So when they become teenagers, I'm gonna tap out and they'll be like, what?
Chris, your turn.
It's on you now because I've done my.
I love it. I love it.
But yeah, no, it's a part of the problem, and it was funny though because like with three girls, the first kid, of course, is tough because it's like, okay, you're going from 0 to 60 in a matter of seconds, and you have no idea what the heck you're doing. The second child, yes, it was tough, and it was like, oh my God, it's like, and then you feel as if you're going through those same cycles again about not sleeping. Going from second to third was actually easier than going from 2, which is mind-boggling. But it was because you were so accustomed to having multiple kids that you're like, all right, cool. From parents, and we were like, you're out of your daggone mind. There's no way that 2 to 3 or having multiple kids is easier, but it was, and it was only because of the multiple aspect of it. And so you get through it, man.
You get used to it. I'm just thinking about taking them to the doctors, all 3 kids. But how do you do it?
Yeah, you just
line them up.
And you just sometimes you do, and it's like you get to a point where you're just doing and not thinking, and you get into a rhythm.
That's a part of the brain. That's how the brain saves you. You go into like rote.
Because if we had to think every time that we had to breathe or blink, then it would be. We
would stop. We would stop.
Yeah, and exactly. It like aspects of parenting will just become easier, and it's always based on your own home family unit and your rhythm, and you develop it. And it took some time for us to develop those rhythms as a unit. And you go through those rough patches of just trying to, like, okay, how the heck did we do this together? And then slowly but surely the rhythm happens. And so it will happen. And it's
you just do it, man.
Yeah, and it's not anything you force. It's just something that the universe kind of helps you with, and your kid helps you with as well.
Yeah, my girl was asking me this morning when I told her I was going to get on the podcast. She's like, "Are you going to change?" And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to show everybody this is what new dads,
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Next to you,
Yeah.
So this is what I had next to me this morning.
It's kind of clean. So. Your definition of clean changes. It's kind of clean.
Formula.
Baby milk for breast milk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a whole new life. So before we move on, Chris, how would you describe yourself as a parent, as a dad? What's the adjective you would use for yourself?
Growing. I think that's me. I think daily, and I think as I think about myself as a parent and what my part has to play. I think I heard a quote that says that you're not raising kids, you're raising the adults that they're going to be, and I think that was sort of a key part in terms of understanding my part to play as a parent and understand what role I have in their development. And as a father, I'm realizing it's. There's some things that I can teach, and there's some things that that they're just going to have to learn on their own and they develop internally. And I think having 3 kids has taught me, and having multiple kids has taught me. They come with their own blueprint, and that write their own script. And I have 3 kids. They live in the same household. They hear the same message, and we've done pretty much the same thing for each kid, but each one has their own set personality. Each one has characteristic. They each have their own thing. And it's amazing to watch that. It's amazing to see how their biology dictates who they are. And just here, especially at this particular stage, just to kind of guide them. And then eventually I'll just turn into a mentor. And then from there, then they become their own individual adults. And so I've realized that it's all about my personal growth as a person who understanding how do I help them to develop into that individual, and then watching them grow into that individual. So it's growth on both sides. And so I think it's been key, just in terms of my development as a dad and watching them grow as well. So
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
So Joseph, I know it's pretty early. But your daughter is moving around a little bit. Is there anything you can see in her that you know is definitely you? Are there any little quirks or little things she might do that make you think, oh, this is my girl?
I don't see anything personally. My girl's
Uh-huh.
been telling me that she's not very easily impressed, and she said
That's real.
and that's kind of like me. So that's the only thing that I've heard
Nice.
so far.
I love that. That's sweet. I mean, she's only 4 months, but that kind of thing is something you can notice in a 4-month-old.
Yeah.
Early on, I see things like when you look over at the parent and the child and they're sleeping like the same exact way, like those kinds of little things. So it's cool to see how that grows over time. What about you, Chris? What things do you see in the girls, in any of the girls or all of the girls that you know is definitely you?
Yeah, I would say Layla, my oldest, is probably the most like me.
Okay.
Most alike. She she doesn't like to be told what to do. Neither do I. I rebel. There's sort of like this, like I know I got it, and I see that in her, and it's like, oh my God, I was like, see what my mom went through, and I'm like, God, I was like, I don't know how she did it, because she knows everything, and it's like she's like, no, I know, I got it, cool, and it's just like, what is this? But I was like, that was me. I acted like I knew everything. I acted like I had everything under control. I had zero of it under control, but I think I felt so defensive, and I see that defensiveness in her, and so I watched it happen, and I understand it. My wife hates it. She's like, no, you're gonna break that thing out of her. But yeah, that's been sort of it's been interesting to watch. My middle child, Jade, she's the complete opposite of me. I'm an introvert, but she is an extrovert to no end. She loves people. She loves embracing people, and again, see, it's one of those things where they both grow up in the same household, but they operate differently. And so yeah, Riley, we're still trying to figure out where she came from. I think where she is a thug. She is.
She gets it done. She sounds like the enforcer.
She's a finisher. She is the enforcer. But she does it in a way like the baby. I mean, she's like it's funny because like she wants to be an authoritative figure, but when the other girls, the older ones, the bigger ones, and then retaliate. She's like, oh, she plays turtle.
That's funny.
It's like, no. So I was like, no, you started it. You're the instigator. No, it's over. So we've had to learn that about her. But yeah, I would say Layla's probably has the better part of my personality for sure.
I love it. I love it. And now let's talk about family in general, like your own families. Can you think of a tradition, Joseph, like one of your favorite traditions as a child, and maybe how you might, we're so early on for you, but how you have been extending that through your new family, or how you might extend it as she gets older?
Not a lot of stuff that I can think of on the top of my head. Maybe we used to do movie nights when we were kids, and I just think that I can't wait till she's a little older where I can explain things to her. We can watch some things together. But yeah, right now it's I'm just trying to focus on keeping her alive, man.
Right.
Traditions. There's no schedules. Nothing. So, yeah.
That extends for a while, Joseph. So don't feel bad. I'm still trying to keep. Emery just walks out of the house. He just leaves, and we're sitting there. So as soon as you hear any kind of screech, everybody's ears have to perk up because he just he's like, I got things to do. I got places to be. So that doesn't stop. That doesn't stop. You have to basically, and I think we're joking around, but through through young adulthood, right? We're just trying to keep them alive, right? We're trying to give them the tools that they need to make the good decisions. And do that when we're not around, but it still boils down to just trying to keep them here.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
And what about you, Chris? What are some family traditions that you remember from childhood that you are expanding in your own family?
I think for the most part, just spending as much quality time with each other, just talking and learning with and from them. I think that was one of the bigger things that we did as a family. We didn't have any like huge traditions that we did yearly, but I mean, outside of like holidays, we had some, Christmas traditions that we tried to keep up, and certain types of music that we listened to. I think overall is making sure that they understand their culture. I think that's been a big part of what we do. My mom is Panamanian, with a Jamaican heritage as well, and then my wife is Jamaican, and so we try to make sure that they understand the countries that our families are from, and so they have that in their back pocket. And so that's some things that we teach at home, and the things that we cook, the way that we talk, the slang, and all that kind of stuff is just things that we hope that they take with them and use that as a part of their cultural development as well. But yeah, that's sort of some of the things that we do in the household, and just kind of trying to create new traditions as well.
Right.
And allowing it to be organic. I think that's been the main thing. Not anything that's too forced.
That's a good point,
Right.
man. Yeah, because I was coming from different, my girl, she's Irish and Portuguese, and I'm Taiwanese. So we have different cultural backgrounds. And it's just trying to get her to understand both sides, grow up and be comfortable with it. So I think that's important.
Absolutely.
Joseph, do you think you'll work on language with your daughter? Think she'll be bilingual? Are you talking to her?
I'm thinking about it. I'm not talking to her in Chinese right now, but I should.
You should. I mean, if it's even, I'm not going to tell you what to do, right? That's not my job. But the language piece is a thing that is not by accident, right? And I know several families that are bilingual, and I was just talking to a friend who's American and moved to Germany, and her husband only talks to the baby in German, and then she talks to the baby in, I mean, he's 2 now, and she talks in English, and so we were talking to them, and the little boy was talking to us in German and refusing to speak in English, but he knows how to speak. Like, it's just on purpose, like he's playing the game, and he's 2. But language is so easily lost and so hard to pick up later. So this time where, I had this conversation before where kids are just soaking up everything, like every single thing is new to them. And this is a point where they don't know that they shouldn't be able to do something. So if you give them 3 languages, they just gonna speak 3 languages, right? I think we put our own adult parameters on what we think kids can do, and man, are they incredible. And so I would just encourage you, if there's any inkling in your mind that you want her to learn how to speak Chinese, that you should. And then
Absolutely.
I don't want to be rude, but like Chinese is difficult. There's a lot to it. So you have to start now.
Right. Yeah. My cousin's born here, and his Chinese is terrible.
Right. So, see? And you don't want to have, I don't want to harp on this, but culture is so important to me. And between language and general culture, it's so easily lost here, right? Because we call America the melting pot, but we're really all just trying to fit in and not stand out. And so if you don't give her those things early on to like really know who she is and be really strong about both parts of who she is, it'll be so easy for her to do the easier thing, which is to melt, which is what we always want to do. I remember my family's from Belize and Jamaica, and they tried so hard to not sound like they were from somewhere else, to the point where I can't do the accent. You know, like kids of immigrants can always mimic their parents, and you like make fun of them, and it's like a thing. But I have a tough time doing it because I didn't hear it enough as a child, you know?
Right. Yep.
So
No.
I'm going to leave it at that, but I
No, that's a really
totally
good point.
encourage you.
No, it's the same. No, my mom, Panamanian Spanish speaking. When she came here, she was trying to perfect her English, and so didn't teach it. And so she regrets it to this day. And you know, and it is useful. And it help with brain development. And you know, we try to teach, you know, sign language with the girls and things like that. That got lost anyway. But it is something that is really useful. And so if you highly recommend it. Thinking about it. So yeah, it's a gift. It's definitely a gift. And
it is a gift.
Yeah, for sure.
They will appreciate. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, and then as we wrap up, I just want to hear what you guys would say as advice for new dads. Joseph, you're really deep into the new dad, but I think that you, since you're right in it, you might have some good thoughts. And also you, Chris, having had 3 daughters. So why don't we start with you, Joseph? What would your advice be for a new dad?
New dads, you think you're ready, you're not. You're never going to be prepared for this. You know, no matter how many books you read, how many people you talk to, you know, just stick with it. You know, be patient. There's nothing like seeing them hit the milestones along the road, you know. So just stick with it. It's going to pay off. And be patient. Be very patient.
I love it. And what about you, Chris?
I think Joseph hit all the big ones. Stick with it, and you know, as best as you can, you know, find those moments where you can invest a bit of who you are into your kids, and then also take the moments to collect yourself as well. I think a lot of times we want to be the one to fix things. We always want to be the one to make sure that everybody's okay. And I think making sure that you are also focusing on your personal psychological, mental health as well. The better you are a person, the more time you take out for yourself, then the better person that you are going to be for your kids. Our kids recognize when we're not emotionally well.
That's a good point.
They see when your parents are not right. They have a keen instinct for it, and so you never want to have that dictate the way that you operate with your kids. It should never be out of anger. It should never, and it's usually it's not your kids. It's usually they're just the straw that broke the camel's back. And so, but your kids are not going to recognize that. They're going to only see themselves as the, you know, the guilty party. So always want to make sure that you're taking care of self consistently, and that they see that in you, and you know, saying thank you to your kids, saying I'm sorry to your kids, and those types of things are going to instill confidence in your kids as well. And so you know, those are the things that we try to do. As much as we think that we're the ones who admonish and try to make sure we're raising our kids as best as we can, they also need to recognize that they are watching us as well, and then the things that we do and the habits that we are learning as adults with our kids, they're going to also use as well. And so I think that's, and especially for men, mental health is usually a thing that's that is not always talked about. So make sure that you are taking care of self as best as possible, so that you're a better person for your kids. So.
Yeah, I think it's important to have support groups too, right? So
Absolutely.
like, you know, being able to talk to new dads, people who's gone through it, it really helps, you know, just even like talking to you, even though we're at different stages, I picked up a lot of things here and there. So it's really helpful talking to people who's gone through it.
Yeah, no, and you know, much like you said, just hearing from other guys, even just hearing from you, who was, you know, a new dad, that's, you know, everything that you're going through, I need to remember.
Right.
As you lose those times and you lose those, you know, the influence and the, you know, you kind of go through life. I was just folding a million clothes of laundry, and and just trying to, and I was watching Ad Astra just to kind of like on the table a little bit just as I was doing it. But and it's just like, oh God, it's like I got to do this again. But just those little, those innocent moments, those pure moments. Sometimes you forget those. So I appreciate you for helping me to remember that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I love all this bro dad love. I love it.
Absolutely.
No. It's true.
The points that you guys make about making sure that you take care of yourself, parents and dads, parents in particular, but dads as well, making sure that you're prioritizing your own mental health, because you can't be good for your family if you're not right within yourself. So, and Chris, that whole piece of you end up taking it out on your children, right? And they don't know. They just think that they're always the wrong one or the bad one. They must be bad because, and there is a Dr. Shafali, who talks a lot about parents. I don't know her whole name. I think she's like, called Dr. Shafali. But anyway, she talked a lot about us trying to reprimand out of our kids our own issues, try to fix our issues in our kids, and we can't do that. What we can do is fix ourselves, and then that just by being better and being healthier and being stronger in ourselves, that fixes our kids. It shows them that, one, you are capable of having all of the emotions, of recognizing them, of addressing them, and that it's okay to have all of those things happen, because that's how life is. We can't push down any of things because it comes up later. So those are really key points, and I'm so glad that both of you were on tonight. Thank you so much for taking the time and being so honest about some really tough topics. So thank you.
Yeah, of course.
All right, so until next time.